they have public kilns back in Minnesota? They must have.
That's definitely a Jingdezhen thing.
Those people are cooperating each other. That was a fascinating place.
I know that China's not going to last forever working here, but I will miss it.
My name's Daniel, and I'm from the UK. I'm currently pursuing a PhD in Chinese art at Tsinghua University.
瓷器片啊
I remember seeing a report about a large population of non-local residents living in Jingdezhen, called Jingpiao. 1 in 6 of them comes from abroad, and so they're called Yang Jingpiao.
生如镜
What is it about Jingdezhen, a fourth-tier city with a population of under 2 million, that attracts these foreign visitors? What does the day-to-day life of a young Jingpiao look like? I'm going on a journey to find out.
Jingdezhen Ceramic University is the only university in China whose programs are devoted 100% to instruction in ceramic art. Over 60 years ago, when China first started accepting overseas students, JCU was one of the first universities to grant Chinese government scholarships. Today, we're here for the Spirit of Ceramics, the first ever Jingdezhen International Ceramic Art Biennial. So we're going to meet some artists and have a look at some art. Wow! 看看这个多大呀 ！Huge piece of pottery here. 这是
上了一层釉，我们这叫釉上彩。
釉上彩啊。
釉上彩。
The biennial is taking place at Jingdezhen Ceramic University's new campus in Xianghu District. On the ground floor of the museum, 23 masters of intangible cultural heritage are displaying their skills for astonished onlookers.
哇，这都是瓷做的，太有意思了。
On the upper floor, 206 unique ceramic works, the best pieces selected after many rounds of competition, are on display for all to see.
Hello.
Hi.
你们都是这个陶瓷大学的学生吗？
对。
啊，我叫大牛，你这个？
塔西亚。
塔西亚，那
我的朋友啊，马克蒂。
马蒂，你们在这里看到的，觉得最震撼的，或者是给你的艺术的启发最大的作品，都有哪些？
Anastasia comes from Russia and is currently researching a PhD at JCU. She's been living in Jingdezhen for 5 years now.
然后这个一个韩国艺术家，然后就是我比较喜欢，因为这是景德镇的特色，这个青花。开始的时候也用青花料，因为就是一看就喜欢，舒服，而且在俄罗斯我们也有类似的青花的颜色。
哪一个艺术家，就是现在展出的，跟你的作品比较像？
因为是我有导师的影响，是我喜欢颜色釉，控制不住就喜欢，也喜欢自然的发现了，是喜欢雕刻。现在雕刻跟颜色釉融合，也有时候做青花。
那全才了。
From its initial inception and planning to the final exhibition of works, the biennial has been 1 year in the making. Despite the negative influence of COVID-19, the biennial received over 2,000 entries from all across the globe. Jingdezhen really is the beating heart of ceramic art. Over 2,000 years ago, Chinese ceramics came to the West via the Silk Road. The majority of that porcelain, or china, which came from China, was produced in Jingdezhen. In Jingdezhen, making china is a complex process made up of 72 unique procedures. Each step in the process is completed by specially trained craftspeople. Nowhere else in the world, other than Jingdezhen, can you find such a group of specialist artisans, each of them a master of an essential step in the art of 100% handcrafted porcelain.
Good morning. It's about 10 a.m. and I've just had my breakfast. Now I've arrived at Jingdezhen Sculpture Factory, where I have it on good authority that they have a public kiln. A public kiln is a place where anyone can come to fire their ceramics. So I'm going to go there, have a look, and see what I can see. 这里应该是个公共窑啊，你看，这些都是各个艺术家烧完的东西，摸上去还是有点温度 ，It's still warm. 诶 ，There's another foreigner here. Hello.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. It's interesting to find another foreign face here.
Yes. Where are you from?
I'm from the UK.
Welcome.
Yourself?
Minnesota, U.S.
Have you fired some earthenware or ceramics in here?
Yeah, our porcelain is on that side over there.
Oh,
So, well, these we're mostly spoons.
right. Is this 一板?
There you go.
Yeah. What are these underneath?
And these are something that Shuye, my wife, designed. They're tulip spoons, which are going out to organization in Beijing. So,
Alright.
so
这是用来吃什么呢？是吃甜点？
吃甜点，吃水果。
哦，水果。
stir. So yeah.
公共窑啊，就是特别的忙，大家都在忙活。然后公共窑嘛，不能烧太大的东西，太大的东西呢，它需要很长的时间才能中间凉却，所以他们烧的就是比较小的这种小器皿。Do they have public kilns back in Minnesota? They must have. No?
That's definitely a Jin-to-Gen thing.
That's a Jin-to-Gen thing.
If they had public kilns, you would have a lot more people doing ceramics because, you know, one of the biggest deterrents is setting up your own studio. You have to have your own kiln, you have to be able to load it, the cost, everything of that. So, I mean, this fires just about every day, maybe 5 times a week it fires. So yeah.
Here at the Sculpture Factory, there are 4 public kilns. This is the busiest one, and it's also the one Jeremy frequents the most. There are specialists who are responsible for loading the kiln and supervising the firing schedules. Every afternoon at 5 p.m, they finish loading the kiln and begin firing. The next morning at 9 a.m, they open the kiln for people to come and collect their ceramics.
揭秘119 24的100 22的100 119哈。
好好。
对，我是负责收钱的。
好的，谢谢，拜拜。
拜拜。
I'll drive carefully.
The Sculpture Factory was established 66 years ago. Initially, some of the ceramics produced here were exported to Europe. Some of its more valuable works now form part of an important collection at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Other pieces have been presented as gifts to foreign dignitaries and diplomats. Later, after the privatization of state-owned enterprises, the Sculpture Factory took a new direction, becoming an incubator for innovative ceramic startups, attracting students and artisans alike. The walk from Jeremy's workshop to the public kiln is just 500 meters. The building itself used to be a kindergarten for factory workers' children.
As I said, we sort of divide. These are the molds. Most of the inspiration comes from Lake Superior, where I live in the U.S. So we'll have molds made by the mold shufu that we went by of some things I actually bring back, like a lot of stones. And these are driftwood to find on the shores, as well as like the erosion you get on the stones, or some of the beka, the seashells.
Have these been bisqued?
Everything here, other than those vases at the end, have all been bisqued. So this is our bisque kiln. So we bisque here, and then we glaze here, and then we call the carryman, the shifus you saw there, who are collecting all the work.
Oh, those are the ones with the wheelbarrow carts.
Yep. They're very much like one of the last really traditional things in Jin-to-Gen that's still, I mean, that's how everyone used to always get all of their work to the kilns.
What they're called, the carrymen.
Carrymen, yep.
Jeremy fell in love with ceramics in high school. He completed 2 master's degrees in ceramic art and later became a professor at a university in the state of Georgia. It wasn't long before he discovered that putting teaching before his work as an artist was never going to be enough. In 2001, he came to China. After living for a while in Guangzhou, he moved to Jingdezhen.
When did you decide that you wanted to move here on a more permanent basis?
Well, I mean, in Guangzhou, I tried for a few years where I was going to a studio, but it was kind of a difficult process to get to where I could do ceramics. I had to travel by bus to metro, metro to bus to motorcycle, and 2.5 hours later I was at the studio. So that just didn't really work very well. And then when I came here in 2008, it was, for me, it was, here's a place where I could wake up and walk to the studio and do what I wanted to do. So I moved in 2009 until just finally trying to do full-time ceramics. I've always had a studio in a sculpture factory, so you could walk every day next to the same two, cross the same two people in the middle of a conversation, and every time I'd walk by, you know, oh, hey, one would be talking, the other one would hit the other one, Lao Wai, and I'm like, you saw me yesterday, you know, so
I'm the same Lao Wai.
So,
Before coming to Jingdezhen, Jeremy's ceramic art was more sculptural in nature. The spoon has always been an idea that inspires him.
Like, my initial time in Jingdezhen was trying to create meter-long porcelain spoons. In 2008, when you could come here, you could go anywhere outside of Jingdezhen, so you would find so many shards, which now are collector's items. You can buy them from the people on the street here, or you can buy them online, but at that point, nobody wanted them. But I would collect those and then trying to incorporate those into these porcelain spoons. You know, I dried them for months and just explosion, boom, 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 in the kiln, because 1,000-year-old ceramics does not want to be refired.
So how did you adapt your project to be more successful?
Well, I have not gotten back to those spoons, have I?
After many crazy attempts and some spectacular failures, Jeremy finally began to get used to working with Jingdezhen's creamy clay and the eccentricities of public kilns. His work retained its creativity, but at the same time became more utilitarian. In 2014, an ice cream spoon became the talk of the town, bringing Jeremy and his wife into the spotlight. Since then, they've been invited to the Jingdezhen International Ceramics Fair and many other home exhibitions nationwide in places like Beijing and Shanghai. 8 years later, the couple have a steady line of income from sales of their ceramics.
To be able to wake up in the morning and, you know that my job is just to get up and get into the studio is very fortunate. I said, you know, mission is not accomplished until I am able to successfully do what I initially came here 15 years to do. But in the meantime, we'll continue doing what we're doing because we enjoy it, and it's given us a lot of branches and things to explore, work on new forms and new ideas.
Apart from the sculpture factory, another centre of activity for the international ceramics movement here in Jingdezhen has been Sanbao village. So now I'm in the verdant hills, half an hour's drive away from the city centre, in search of ceramic artists. What is it about Jingdezhen and Sanbao village in particular that has made people decide to call this place their home?
你好，这个瓷器有点像那个宋朝的建盏。
对，用黑滇木，这个黑色的部分是黑滇木油，黑滇木。
你是当地人吗？
不是不是，
我听你口音就不像当地
人。
日本人，我听你口音像日本人。How long have you been here in Jingdezhen, if you don't mind my asking?
Actually, more than 8 years. I feel very ashamed. My Chinese is such poor.
No problem.
Yeah, this is my husband.
This is your husband?
Yeah, 广州人。
哦，幸会。
Takayanagi Yao's journey into ceramics began in the year 2000. In a museum in Japan, her gaze fell upon an exceptional Chinese Tomoku glazed tea bowl. Later, she began researching how Tomoku tea bowls are made, and in 2013, she moved to Jingdezhen with her husband, Mr. Wen.
Coming here, and it was the first time completely doing pottery for life. Actually, for the beginning, arriving here, I felt very dizzy.
Dizzy?
Too many here and there, all ceramic, many potters doing the, this and that.
Almost lost yourself in all of the other work that you were surrounded by.
Yes. But the nature in Sambal could help me a lot, For the beginning, I was doing the pottery more inside the mountain. When too much heated inside to make something beautiful. When I see the mountain, and we cannot win to the nature. Anyway, come back to myself is really, really important for artists.
In her artwork, Ayao paints the mountains, rivers, flora, fauna, and starry nights of Sambal village onto the clay. She soaks leaves in water until only the veins remain, impressing the skeletons onto the thick black glaze before firing. For Ayao, ceramic art isn't just a way of making a living, it's a means of self-expression.
She is kind of very careful and dedicated.
很细心的一个人。
Just don't like failing, I suppose.
Everybody afraid of a mistake.
越紧张就越容易犯错。
Yeah. But it is also good to know, I'm like this. This is enough.
Ayao isn't just an artist. She's a practitioner of meditation and chadao, the Japanese way of tea. In the countryside surrounding Sambal village, these three aspects of her life merge seamlessly. At an exhibition showcasing cultural exchange in ceramics between China, Japan and Korea, she performed a Japanese tea ceremony using her very own Temoku glazed tea bowls. For her, that is the epitome of Sino-Japanese cultural integration.
Ceramic Art Avenue， 这个就很像798，对吧？它都是那种以前的厂房，然后改造成一个个小工作室，然后还有产品的展示什么的。What used to be a state-run factory back in 1958 is now a huge complex complete with museums, boutiques and even gastropubs. Today I have a date with the undisputed king and queen of the Jingdezhen expat community, a couple whose connection with Jingdezhen goes back over 2 decades. 你好，我是大牛，有预约。好的。好。Good morning. Hello. Takeshi, lovely to meet you. Your reputation precedes you.
And you are?
I'm Daniel.
Daniel.
Takeshi Yasuda and Felicity Aliff come from the United Kingdom. Both previously taught at the Royal College of Art in London and have been living in Jingdezhen on and off for almost 2 decades.
Wow, this is a big space. You can tell, it's very lofty.
At the end of 2019, they returned to the UK for the holidays, planning their return to China after Christmas. The sudden onslaught of a global pandemic cast their plans to the wind, and they were forced to wait for over 2 years before their eventual return to Jingdezhen in February 2022.
In all my career, over 50 years, I never stopped something 2 years. This is a completely new experience. It's interesting as well as difficult, actually.
Yeah. And how many do you typically throw in the course of one afternoon?
Probably about 10.
Probably about 10.
Yeah. When I was a bit younger, probably I was able to throw something like 30 a day. But today I don't have that kind of
energy. Yeah.
Takeshi Yasuda became an apprentice, learning ceramics at the age of 19. He's been involved in pottery ever since. In 2001, Takeshi made his first journey to Jingdezhen, aged 58 years old. At the time, many state-owned ceramics factories were undergoing privatization, and the local economy looked bleak. But Takeshi recognized the potential of the high concentration of specialized artisans and the myriad small-scale workshops. The unique energy and buzz excited him.
What made you decide to stay?
Because very interesting. So at that time, all factories closed, but probably ex-employees are operating as a one-man workshop. In fact, later I realized they were given small unit to ex-workers as a part of redundancy package, free of charge for 20 years. China, nobody is covering all area, everybody is specialized. So those people are cooperating each other and very active. And that was a fascinating place,
I think the first time was 2005. Some of the roads weren't made up and it was quite rough. Cleverly, Takashi said, don't try and make work, just look round to see what the possibilities were. And he took me round all over the place, and I just fell in love and just thought, I can work with this, I can do this, I can do all these different things in a way that I knew wouldn't be possible in England, and that was the trigger.
Settling down in Jingdezhen, Takeshi became supervisor of the Pottery Workshop, an international ceramic center offering residencies to artists worldwide. It wasn't long before he established Red House, providing a platform for master craftsmen and foreign artists to teach their skills to a new generation of potters. Felicity also began to collaborate with local artists, immersing herself in the creation of large-scale ceramic forms.
We call it the bigware factory, the big pot factory, and their specialism has always been making these giant pots.
The bigware factory can be found on the outskirts of Jingdezhen. It's home to many artisans trained in traditional crafts like underglaze painting, ceramic carving, and the use of overglaze enamels. There are also huge kilns used to fire the monumental pieces and a sandblasting studio. In 2010, Felicity began working with this bigware factory.
This is one piece that's ready for me to work on here. This big
piece. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, and you can see very distinctly here the sections.
Are you going to be filling them in with slip or?
They fill those in over the number of weeks, and you paint on it, and it looks like it's filled in, and then over the time it just sucks it in, and you have to keep doing it.
Right.
Yeah. This is Mrs. Jiang.
Mrs. Jiang, 你好。你是帮 Felicity 来这个做灯彩。
Yes. This is a commission for America.
Right.
From drawings that I made, I then work with ink, plot it out for her to follow.
Trace.
Exactly.
What are the L's and S's? What do these mean?
That means I want her to do a large line and a small line.
Okay. So thickness of the lines.
Because I can't speak Chinese and she can't speak English.
Yeah.
So
that's how you communicate.
Yeah.
How long have you been collaborating with Miss Jiang?
12 years. 12.
你们合作已经12年了。
Yes. And she is the best fensai painter, I think, in Jingdezhen. For me, the best.
因为你懂她。
你是很欣赏我。
你懂她。
谢谢她的那个支持。
Traditional Chinese pottery techniques have been a constant source of inspiration for Felicity's work. Pieces created here in Jingdezhen have now entered the collections of museums in the UK, Germany, Holland, and the United Arab Emirates.
I know that China's not going to last forever working here, but I will miss it, because it means I can produce so much. I can produce. I just like the environment, and when I go back to England, I would just feel like a little old lady craftsman.
Nowadays,